Welcome, dear friend, to this quiet corner we have prepared, and thank you, with a warmth that we hope you can feel, for choosing to spend these restful moments with us. It has been our deepest wish to weave for you a gentle story, one crafted not for adventure, but to serve as a soft, comforting hand upon your shoulder, helping to guide you toward a peaceful and easy slumber. If, as you journey with us through these quiet halls, you find a measure of solace in this tale, please do, just before you set your device aside, show your appreciation by liking this story, subscribing to our channel, and perhaps leaving a kind word for others to find. Your simple gesture helps us to continue crafting these havens of tranquility before we cross the threshold into that hallowed quiet, where the scent of old pages and cool stone waits to greet us. We shall first share a moment of gentle breathing to settle your spirit. Now, let us invite a deep and true comfort to settle over you, much like soft moss finding its home in the cool crevices of an ancient wall. Find your most restful position, allowing your body to sink with a gentle weight into the support beneath you, feeling every part of you held in a safe and easy embrace. Draw your blankets around you, a soft cocoon against the world, and let your pillow cradle your head, making a perfect cozy nook just for you. This is your time, a gentle pilgrimage into peace, where all the busy thoughts of the day may simply unfurl and drift away, inviting a quietness into your heart as soft and profound as the ancient silence held within the scriptorium itself. Let us share a soothing breath together now, one as slow and contented as the library's own timeless existence. Gently and without effort, draw the air in through your nose, imagining it as a soft silvery light, cool and clean, filling every quiet space within you. Then, release it just as gently, a soft and almost silent sigh of pure relief. With each slow, easy breath, feel your body softening, much like the supple cover of a well-loved book, letting go of any small knots of weariness you might be holding. Imagine the clean, cool fragrance of ancient dry vellum, the faint, sweet scent of chamomile, and the grounding aroma of stone that has been peaceful for a very long time, filling your senses and hushing the small lingering noises of your day. If by some chance your thoughts begin to flutter, much like dust motes dancing in a pale beam of light, that is perfectly all right, dear one. Simply notice them, allowing them to drift on by like small clouds in a vast, calm sky, and then with the gentlest of intentions, guide your attention back to the steady, quiet rhythm of your own breathing. There is nothing more for you to do now, save for listening and allowing the story to be a soft vessel, carrying you toward the deep and restorative rest you so richly deserve. Feel the ever-warm hearthstone's low, deep hum, a vibration that resonates with the very song of patience, gently coaxing your own body into a profound state of ease. Let us now begin our quiet journey into the heart of the scriptorium, where the gentle hum of ancient stones and the soft scent of sleeping dew await to cradle you in a serene and deeply restful sleep. Chapter 1. The Threshold of Stillness. One would not happen upon the door to the scriptorium by chance, for it was a thing that seemed to wait to be found by those who were truly looking for quiet, Phylan, whose feet had traced so many forgotten paths upon the world's face, felt the pull of it not as a destination on a map, but as a low, quiet hum in his very bones. The door was a great, round slab of dark wood, set so perfectly into the green swell of the hillside that it might have grown there, its surface worn smooth by centuries of soft rain and patient wind. There was no handle, only a place where the wood was slightly hollowed, a perfect fit for a tired hand. He placed his palm against it, feeling the faint, cool vibration thrumming through the ancient grain, a gentle and unspoken invitation. With a push that required less effort than he expected, the door swung inward, not with a creak of old hinges, but with a deep, sonorous sigh of shifting stone. The air that flowed out to greet him was a physical presence, a cool, clean exhalation that carried the scent of deep earth, of dry, waiting paper, and of something else. Something like the air just after a summer shower has washed the world clean. It was a fragrance of pure stillness. He stepped across the threshold from the sun-dappled afternoon into a space of soft, eternal twilight, and the great door swung shut behind him with a low, resonant tomb that did not echo, but was instead absorbed into the profound quiet of the place, sealing him within a perfect, comforting silence. His eyes, accustomed to the bright light of the world outside, took a moment to adjust, but it was a gentle transition. The scriptorium was a vast circular chamber, its curved walls lined with shelves that reached high into the peaceful gloom, all carved from the same living stone of the hill. A single high oculus in the domed ceiling allowed a column of soft, diffused light to fall into the center of the room, illuminating a slow, mesmerizing dance of dust motes. The light did not glare, but seemed to be a soft, liquid thing, pooling on the floor and casting no harsh shadows. It was a light meant for resting the eyes, for gentle observation, a light that asked for nothing. In the very center of that peaceful pillar of light stood a low, round hearth, built not of rough brick, but of large, dark, smooth stones that looked like the ancient eggs of some great sleeping creature. No fire burned within it, yet a palpable warmth radiated from the stones, a gentle, steady heat that beckoned him closer. It was this warmth, a quiet counterpoint to the cool air, that drew him forward. He walked slowly, his soft leather boots making no sound on the stone floor, which felt as smooth and yielding as packed earth. This was a place he knew with a certainty that settled deep in his soul, where one did not need to hurry. Drawn by an instinct for comfort he had long ignored, Phelan made his way to a large, high-backed chair that sat near the hearth. It was made of a dark, polished wood and upholstered in a soft, faded fabric that looked as though it had held the shape of countless restful bodies. As he sank into its depths, the chair seemed to sigh and embrace him, its old, kind frame a perfect support for his weary back. He let his head rest against the high back, closed his eyes, and simply breathed, feeling the gentle, humming warmth from the hearthstones begin to seep into his bones, a feeling like a slow, warm tide rising within him. It was in that first moment of surrender, of letting go, that he noticed the moss, growing in the cool, dark crevices between the great stones of the walls were patches of soft, pale green moss, and as he watched one patch, then another, begin to emit a soft internal luminescence. It was not a bright light, but a gentle living glow that pulsed with a slow, hypnotic rhythm, like a field of sleeping fireflies. A faint, clean scent, the one he had noticed at the door, wafted from the moss, the fragrance of deep, untroubled peace. The silence in the scriptorium was not an absence of sound, but a presence in itself. It was a thick, soft blanket that muffled the ceaseless chatter of his own mind. The mapmaker in him, the part that was always measuring and charting, simply grew quiet, content to be still. The anxieties of the road, the subtle weight of his solitary journey, began to feel distant, like a story that had happened to someone else a long, long time ago. The low hum from the stones, the soft pulse of the moss, the gentle weight of the quiet air. They were all singing the same simple, ancient song. Phelan did not know how long he sat there, drifting in that warm, quiet space. Time itself seemed to have a different texture here, thick and slow like honey. He felt a loosening in his shoulders, a release in his jaw, the slow, sweet unraveling of tensions he had not even known he was carrying. His breath, once shallow and quick from his journey, deepened and slowed until it seemed to fall into perfect rhythm with the gentle, glowing pulse of the lumen moss on the walls. Here, on the threshold of stillness, he felt he had finally, after a lifetime of searching, arrived. Chapter 2. The first page turns. In the vast encompassing quiet of the scriptorium, presence was a gentle thing. Phelan opened his eyes, not from sleep, but from a deeper state of rest, to find he was no longer alone. Near the central hearth, a figure was moving with a slowness so profound it seemed a part of the room's natural state. This was Olin, the library's keeper. He had not arrived with a sound or a sudden movement. Rather, it felt as though the quiet itself had simply coalesced into his form. He was of an indeterminate age, with a kind, lined face and eyes that held the patient, untroubled calm of a deep, still pool. His simple homespun robes were the color of dried lavender and seemed to rustle with the barest whisper of sound. Olin offered Phelan a smile that was small, warm, and utterly welcoming, a gesture that spoke more clearly than any words. In his hands he held a tray with two mismatched earthenware mugs, from which a fragrant steam curled lazily into the cool air. He set the tray down on a low wooden table next to Phelan's chair, the sound of the ceramic on the wood, a soft, deliberate thok in the immense silence. He pushed one of the mugs gently toward Phelan. The warmth from it reached out, an invitation to comfort. Phelan wrapped his hands around the smooth, rounded sides, feeling the heat seep gratefully into his palms and travel up his arms. A simple and profound pleasure. He took a slow sip. The tisane was a warm, golden liquid that tasted of chamomile, a hint of sweet clover, and something else, a subtle, earthy spice that was both comforting and grounding. The flavor seemed to expand in his senses, a liquid warmth that complemented the dry, steady heat of the hearthstones. He and Olin sat for a time in a companionable and complete silence, sipping their drinks, watching the gentle pulsing of the lumen moss. There was no need for conversation, for questions or answers. The shared quiet was a language all its own, a communion of peaceful presence. The simple act of sharing a warm drink felt like a profound and ancient ritual. When their mugs were empty, Olin rose with that same unhurried grace. He gestured for Phelan to follow, not with a beckoning hand, but with a slight turn of his head and a look of gentle expectation. Phelan stood, feeling more rested than he had in years, and followed the keeper away from the hearth and deeper into the circular library. Olin led him to a particular section of the towering shelves, the stone cool beneath Phelan's curious fingertips. The books here were different from the leather-bound tomes he had glimpsed elsewhere. They were slimmer, bound in what looked like smooth pale wood, and felt cool and solid in his hands. Olin took one of the codices from the shelf. It was surprisingly heavy, feeling less like a book and more like a smooth, flat river stone. He held it out to Phelan. The cover was a soft, milky gray, polished by countless hands, and as Phelan took it, he felt that same faint, peaceful vibration he'd noticed in the door, a low, steady hum that seemed to resonate with the quietest parts of his own being. He ran a thumb over the surface, a texture that was indescribably smooth, like vellum that had been soaked in cool water and dried in soft light for 1,000 years. There was no title, no mark upon the cover, only the gentle, living hum from within. With a quiet nod of encouragement from Olin, Phelan carried the Codex back to the worn, comfortable chair by the hearth. He settled back into its depths, the book resting in his lap like a warm, sleeping thing. He could feel the gentle, constant heat from the hearthstones on his back, see the soft, rhythmic glow of the moss in his periphery, and smell the lingering, sweet scent of the tisane in the air. The world had been reduced to these simple, perfect sensations. For a mapmaker who had spent his life trying to capture the world on paper, the idea of a book with no words was a gentle, intriguing mystery. He looked over at Olin, who had taken up a soft cloth and was now polishing one of the great hearthstones with a slow, circular, meditative motion. The keeper's focus was absolute, his actions imbued with a sense of simple, profound purpose. He was not just cleaning the stone, he was tending to it, honoring it. He caught Phelan's eye and gave another small, encouraging nod as if to say, "It is time. There is nothing to fear." The air was thick with a feeling of gentle anticipation, the quiet promise of a wonder he could not yet comprehend. Holding the Codex, Phelan felt a sense of reverence. He placed his fingers on the edge of the cover, the smooth material cool against his skin. The vibration seemed to grow a little stronger, a low thrum of welcome. With a slow, deliberate movement, he lifted the cover. The pages within were not paper, not quite vellum, but something in between, with a soft, almost moist texture and a faint, pearlescent sheen. They lay open, waiting. The first page was blank, holding nothing but that soft, internal light. He took a slow, steadying breath, the cool, clean air of the scriptorium filling his lungs, and prepared to turn the first page. Chapter 3. The Memories of Morning. Phelan turned the page. The movement was silent, the vellum-like material making no rustle as it moved. The page beneath was not blank. It held a single, shimmering, intricate pattern, like a frost drawing on a window pane. It seemed to be made of captured light, Olin, seeing him hesitate, came to his side and, with a gesture of infinite gentleness, guided Phelan's hand to the surface of the page. The moment his palm made contact, the world of the scriptorium dissolved, not violently, but as if it were a mist gently clearing to reveal something else, something held within the page itself. He was no longer in the library. He was somewhere else, somewhere cool and green. He did not see it with his eyes, but felt it with his entire being. He experienced the distinct sensation of being a single, unfurling fern frond at dawn. He felt the cool, damp weight of 1,000 microscopic dewdrops clinging to his delicate structure, the slow, glorious pull of the coming light drawing him upward. The air around him was thick with the rich, loamy smell of awakening earth, the scent of wet moss on stone, and the clean green fragrance of new growth. It was a symphony of smells that spoke of life, of pure, untroubled beginnings. The sounds were just as vivid, just as pure. He heard with a clarity he had never known the specific 3-note song of a single wood thrush from a nearby branch, a call that was as clear and perfect as a drop of water. He could sense the low, soft hum of a bumblebee stirring in a nearby blossom, the faint rustle of a small creature in the undergrowth. These were not memories of sounds, but the sounds themselves, experienced in a perfect, eternal present. There was no Phelan, no self, only the being of the fern, the experience of the dawn, a moment of pure, unthinking existence. Just as gently as it had begun, the sensation receded. He felt the warmth of the hearthstone on his back once more, the solid weight of the Codex in his lap. He lifted his hand from the page, his palm cool and tingling, as if he had actually touched the morning dew. He looked at Olin, his eyes wide with a quiet, profound wonder. The keeper's own eyes held a deep, serene understanding. He simply nodded, a confirmation of the gentle magic Phelan had just experienced. These were not books of stories, but of moments. Each page, Olin explained in a voice as soft as worn velvet, held the preserved memory of a single dewdrop. Phelan spent what could have been hours, or perhaps days, in his chair by the hearth, turning the pages of the Codex. With each touch, he was transported. He experienced the world as a single blade of grass, feeling the very first ray of sun as a warm, golden touch upon its tip. He became a spider's web, impossibly intricate and strung with jewels of dew, feeling the faint, resilient tremor of the silken threads in the barest morning breeze. He was a smooth gray stone at the edge of a still pond, feeling the soft, lapping kiss of the water and the cool weight of the night still held within its core. These were not grand adventures or dramatic events. They were the smallest, quietest, most overlooked moments of beauty in the world, captured and held in perfect stillness. Each experience washed over him like a gentle, cleansing wave, rinsing away the dust of his long travels, the weariness of his mind. He was not reading about peace. He was inhabiting it, absorbing it through his very skin. The endless need to map, to define, to understand was replaced by a simple, profound capacity to feel. The scents, the textures, the sounds, they were all becoming a part of him. He learned that the scriptorium was not just a library of these moments, but a sanctuary for them, Olin and the keepers before him had dedicated their lives to this gentle, patient work, collecting the morning's dew and preserving its fleeting, perfect memories before the sun could claim them. It was an act of profound love for the world, a testament to the beauty hidden in the smallest of things. The low, resonant hum of the hearthstones seemed to be the engine of this gentle preservation, and the soft, pulsing light of the lumen moss was its quiet guardian. Balin looked down at his own hands, the hands of a mapmaker that had traced so many lines and borders. He now understood that the truest maps were not of places, but of moments like these. He felt a sense of gratitude so deep and quiet, it was almost a form of prayer. He placed his hand back onto the page, under the memory of a single petal of a night-blooming flower, as it offered up its last sweet fragrance to the dawn. He closed his eyes, and with a soft, contented sigh, he let the peace of it fill him completely. Chapter 4. A Silence That Sings. The rhythm of Phelan's existence slowed to match the languid pulse of the scriptorium. The concept of days marked by the rising and setting of a sun he could no longer see dissolved into a seamless, gentle flow of being. His world was now circumscribed by the warm, glowing stones of the hearth, the cool, silent shelves, and the soft, breathing light of the moss. His purpose was no longer to journey outward, but to delve deeper into the profound stillness that surrounded him. The constant, quiet hum of the hearthstones became the steady, reassuring beat of his new reality, a sound that sang of patience and permanence. He began to join Olin in the simple meditative rituals that constituted life in the library. In the time that felt like morning, they would take small, shallow bowls of polished wood and venture into the hidden, mist-shrouded gardens that were open to the sky only through small, moss-rimmed apertures. There they would carefully collect the newest dew from the petals and leaves, a task that required a stillness of hand and spirit Phelan had never before cultivated. Each perfect, trembling drop felt like a tiny liquid jewel, holding the world's first quiet thoughts. The air in the gardens was cool and fragrant, with the scent of damp earth and blooming night flowers. Later, they would work together in the great, quiet chamber. Phelan learned to polish the huge, dark hearthstones, not as a chore, but as an act of gratitude. He would take a soft lanolin-rich cloth and rub it in slow circular motions against the warm stone, the friction releasing a faint, clean scent into the air. The stone's surface would gleam with a soft, deep luster under his care, and he could feel its low, resonant vibration more clearly through his hands, a feeling that settled deep in his chest and quieted any fluttering anxieties. He felt he was not just polishing a stone, but tending to the very heart of this peaceful place. Tirchit. His mind, once a bustling cartographer's workshop filled with calculations of distance and direction, had become a quiet, open space. The need to name, to categorize, to understand had fallen away, replaced by a simple, profound state of observation. He would spend long stretches of time just watching the single, bright column of light from the oculus as it moved slowly across the floor, a silent, celestial clock. He watched the tiny dust motes, each a microscopic world, as they drifted and swirled in its beam, a slow, silent, an utterly mesmerizing ballet. Sometimes, Olin would hum. It was never a full song, just fragments of a melody as ancient and smooth as the stones themselves. The wordless tunes would hang in the quiet air like the scent of the tisane, a gentle, comforting presence that asked for nothing. Phylon found he could feel the shape of the melody in the air, a texture of sound that was as real as the soft blanket he would sometimes drape over his shoulders. He was learning to listen not just with his ears, but with his whole body to the deep, harmonious silence of the scriptorium. He continued to explore the due codices, but his approach had changed. It was no longer with the breathless wonder of discovery, but with the quiet appreciation of returning to a beloved place. He would choose a page and allow its sensory memory to wash over him, a gentle immersion in pure sensation. He felt the rough, comforting texture of bark on an ancient tree, tasted the clean, sharp flavor of the air on a high, windy precipice, and saw the world reflected, upside down and perfect, in a single drop of rain hanging from a leaf. These moments were his sustenance. One afternoon, sitting in his favorite chair, a warm mug in his hands, he looked at the soft, rhythmic glow of the lumen moss pulsing on the far wall. Its light was a slow, steady in and out, a visible breath. Without conscious thought, he found his own breathing had slowed to match it, a deep, easy rhythm that felt as natural and effortless as the turning of the world. A profound sense of contentment settled over him, a feeling not of happiness, which can be fleeting, but of a deep and simple rightness. In that quiet, humming, breathing space, Phylon understood that he had found the place his maps had always been pointing to, a destination not of latitude or longitude, but of the soul. He was not a visitor in the scriptorium. He was a part of its quiet, singing silence. He closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the mug, the gentle support of the chair, and the slow, steady pulse of the peaceful world he now inhabited, and he knew with absolute certainty that he was home. Chapter 5. The Carry Home Calm. There came a time, not marked by any clock or calendar, when Phylon felt a subtle shift within himself. It was not a restlessness or a desire to leave, but a quiet sense of fullness, as if a vessel that had long been empty was now filled to the brim with a cool, clear water. The peace of the scriptorium was no longer something he was merely observing or experiencing. It had seeped into the very marrow of his bones, becoming an intrinsic part of his own being. The low, steady hum of the hearthstones now resonated within his own chest, a quiet, internal song of calm. He sought out Olin, finding him in one of the misty gardens, tending to a patch of small white flowers whose petals held the scent of moonlight. Phylon did not need to speak the words of departure. The serene keeper simply looked at him, his ancient eyes filled with a warm, knowing light, and he nodded. The parting was not an ending, but a continuation. Olin placed a hand on Phylon's shoulder, a touch that was light, but conveyed a sense of profound, gentle blessing. He then pressed a small, smooth, cool stone into Phylon's palm, a single unadorned stone from the hearth. It pulsed with a faint, familiar warmth. Phylon walked back through the main chamber, his footsteps still silent on the stone floor. He ran his hand one last time along a cool, familiar shelf, breathed in the comforting scent of old vellum and clean earth, and watched the soft, rhythmic pulse of the lumen moss, a gentle, silent farewell. He paused by the great high-backed chair that had first welcomed him, a place of profound comfort and transformation. He felt a wave of quiet gratitude wash over him, a thankfulness so deep and pure it had no need for words. He was not leaving the peace behind. He was carrying it with him. He stood before the great round wooden door. He placed his palm flat against its surface, just as he had upon his arrival, and felt the same low, welcoming hum. With a gentle push, the door swung open with its signature sonorous sigh. The light that greeted him was the soft, gentle gold of a late afternoon. It did not feel harsh or jarring, but simply like a different kind of quiet. The air outside was alive with the scent of warm grass and distant rain, and the sound of a gentle breeze rustling through the leaves of a nearby tree sounded like a soft, welcoming whisper. Stepping across the threshold, he turned as the heavy door swung shut with its final peaceful thoom, the sound sealing scriptorium silence once more. Yet the quiet did not leave him. It remained, a vast, tranquil space within his own mind. The world outside seemed different, or perhaps he was the one who had changed. The colors of the wildflowers on the hill seemed softer, yet more vivid. The song of a distant bird felt more intricate and lovely. The feeling of the gentle breeze on his skin was a delicate, soothing caress. He held the small, warm stone from Olin in his hand, its steady, gentle pulse, a tangible reminder of the peace he now carried. He no longer felt the weary weight of the traveler or the restless urge of the map maker. He felt only a profound sense of being present, of belonging not to one place, but to the gentle, quiet beauty of the world itself. He had sought a destination and had instead found a new way of being. He stood on the green hillside for a long moment, simply breathing. He drew in the warm, clean air, and as he exhaled, it was a slow, soft sigh of pure contentment. He could still feel the cool dampness of the fern frond from the Codex, still hear the perfect three-note call of the wood thrush. These sensory memories were now a part of his own, woven into the fabric of his soul. With a soft, peaceful smile, Pailan turned and began to walk, his steps unhurried, his path unplanned. He did not know where he was going, and for the first time in his life, that felt perfectly, wonderfully right. The story closes here, not with an end, but with a gentle continuation, leaving the listener adrift on that same soft tide of contentment, ready to be carried into a deep and profoundly restful sleep.